Hello and welcome to Do Life. I have with me today a special guest, Amanda Jones-Quao, who works in the banking space. She is Assistant Vice President of Sales, Strategy and Effectiveness, and also as an entrepreneur in her own right. She runs SAG Revolution. What a joy, Amanda, to have you today, right? Doing life with you. So as you know, I wanted to relax, and there are many out there who've been looking forward to today's broadcast. So share your heart, ask the questions that is on your mind, and I hope it will be a blessing to those who are watching. And I'm ready to go wherever you are.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'm so excited to be here. And I have tons and tons of questions. I'd like to just kind of focus in today on relationships and marriage. We're coming up, it's 2020. And over the years, we've all been taught what goes into marriage, what foundations for marriage, what people need to bring into a marriage, and how you have to compromise when you're in marriage and relationships. One of my questions to you today is, what do you think the value system is now when it comes to marriages? Are people valuing marriage as this union that God put together? Or are they just saying, oh, let's just get married because right now you're the thing. Right now you look nicer on my arm. Right now, we make a great power couple. And then sometimes 2 days later, 2 years later, it ends in divorce because they don't understand what it is or the type of promises you're making when you're going into a marriage. How do you feel about today's value system with the marriage?
Personally, I feel that the marriage, as we know it, is not what is being done to it today. Things have changed. Our times have changed. And the fact that times have changed doesn't mean principles change, and doesn't mean values change. People change, but values and principles are always going to stay the same. People don't put too much weight in marriage, and people don't see the importance of staying together. It also goes back to what our forefathers knew and what they valued and what they saw as important, and how in this time and age people take so much for granted, and people don't actually value long-term relationships. When you live in a society or a world where you get what you want, and whatever seems to be challenged or whatever seems to be difficult, instead of working on it, just abandon it and start afresh. It makes it much easier for people not to stay too long in relationships, because they meet today. If it feels good, we are in. If times gets tough, I'm out. People don't like responsibilities as our forefathers did or our parents did, but they enjoy privileges. So privilege without responsibility definitely will affect any relationship of any kind, whether it's casual relationship, serious relationship, or marital relationship. When we say marriage, it means that I'm committing my life to you, that no matter what happens, tough times will come, good times will come, but we will not mentally and emotionally divorce from each other. Whatever the challenge may be, we'll work it out and stay together. And again, there are people who live with spouses in the time past where they may not have any solid relationship, but for the sake of the children, they stay to make the union strong. So I would say that relationship is something we have to take serious, because it should start with relationship before it gets into marriage. If you have a good relationship, which becomes a good friendship, which eventually ends up to be in marriage or ends up to be a marriage, then you would value the importance of that friendship. Friends don't break off that easily. So when there is a conflict or challenge, they talk about it. So if you have a marriage which has this friendship element, then you can talk about almost anything and you could work things out. And if you are committing yourself to someone, make sure that you are doing it knowing exactly what you are doing, and you are doing it with a human being, not a perfect being. And expect that there will be challenges. Just as you are not perfect, don't expect the person you're in a relationship with to be perfect. So you make room for each other and you grow by learning each other. So when people get into relationships, definitely it should not be casual. You have to think it through. You have to process things, and you have to make sure that the person you are giving your heart to, or the person you are about to work with, is someone that you can live with. And if we can do that from the start, I don't think we will make wrong choices when we get into a relationship. So we get in to stay. When a relationship is built on convenience, what I can get, me, I and myself, then definitely it's not going to go too far. Relationship is give and take. Relationship that is based on love, respect, and trust, and sharing, and caring stays long. So this present generation, they are fast. It's like drive-through relationships. I drive through, get me this, you don't have it, I move to the next stop. So people are getting into casual relationships and not serious or deep relationships. And as a result of it, things don't last. I mean, our parents were different. The families knew each other. I mean, they grew up together. History is considered. Background is considered. But today you meet a total stranger on the internet. You meet someone you've never met before, never spoken to, with image, with picture, good body, good looks, and the men show their muscles. Today the women show their behind. If it looks good, it means it's great. And many times this doesn't make a relationship last. So it's good to know a person you are engaging with, or about to engage with. Make sure that character becomes part of your relationship. Make sure you know the person's background. Find out about their previous relationships. Find out about their family history. Because whoever you yoke with, you can never unyoke. And whoever you come in contact with to build a life with, you doing so by history. You are uniting history. So it's always good to do your research and your background at the start. So when you enter into this relationship, you know what you're getting into. If that is considered, then I believe most of the mishaps, difficulties, and challenges that young people are having today, and in and out, they will not do so lightly, but they will take many things into consideration. I hope I was able to answer this part.
That was awesome. I pulled a few things from there. It's definitely leading me to my next question. I love the part you said a human being, not a perfect being, is what you're after.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. But going back to the responsibilities part of what you were speaking on, our forefathers standing up and taking responsibility. We know that, in life, as we grow and we get older and we're younger and we're growing, sex has become a big part of every generation. And it's happened where, you have a male and a female, they're dating, or they may not be dating, and they happen to step into that world. And then all of a sudden, the female's pregnant. Now, a lot of our forefathers, when we, in the past, that they have owned up to their responsibilities, as you were speaking before, and they stand up, and a lot of times people got married because the pregnancy happened. So looking at and comparing it to nowadays, we have a lot of young people, they're out there in the world, they're dating, and female gets pregnant, but a lot of times everyone doesn't always own up to their responsibility. And we also have it sometimes where the female is pregnant, gives birth, and the father can take control and have they'll be the only parent in the picture, and the female will go about her separate way, but they don't end up together. And I'm just kind of wondering. I want to know what your insight is, or what you think about those offspring, those children that come from those relationships of a family where it's a single parent household. They don't have both parents. How do you think that they're growing up with the mindset of being married, and their mindset of going into relationships, their foundations for relationships? Because now what they have is not what everyone is accustomed to, or what we think should be the case. What is your take on how they're growing up with their value system in relationships and marriage?
Okay. It's very interesting. I'll give you a very broad answer, but I'll try to specifically address this question. Relationship, when we are looking at it from a broader perspective, we look at it from both the Christian perspective and the secular perspective. Society is influenced heavily, and that influence has even come into the church or into Christian homes. So when we talk about relationship, because we are talking about the relationship based on our faith, where it's a man and a woman. But when you take that conversation, that those who are listening to us, who may even be in the church, but may be struggling with that form of relationship between a man and a woman. So they will say that, yes, I have my love for, it's not for a man and it's not a man and woman type. My love is for a man and a man, a woman and a woman. So they look at our interview or listen to us, they will say, you know what? I know they are speaking about the church. It doesn't deal with us. But I want to be able to address it broadly and narrow it to the question. When we talk about relationship from biblical perspective, what we know is that we talk about relationship, we're talking about between man and a woman. So that is what the topic is about. That's what we are addressing, man and a woman. But to those who may be coming new to the church, who may not have that relationship, and what they've known is they grew up in an environment where it's man and man or woman and woman, some of this will be strange to them. But yet, truth have to be told, scripture have to be looked at. God intended that a man and a woman will be the ones who will build a relationship. And when you talk about bringing a child into this world, man and man cannot bring a child to this world. A woman and woman cannot bring a child to this world. They can adopt, but for a woman to be pregnant, it takes a man. So it is appropriate for a man who gives seed to the woman have to stay together and raise a child together. And that's where responsibility comes in. It is better for people to get married before children come into the world. That is God's original order. Okay. Young people today, at times in a hurry for fun, a pleasure, will forego the responsibilities that involves in husband and building a relationship, going through the formal way of engagement, marriage, then having children. And some by accident or some by pleasure get pregnant out of wedlock, and a child is born. But when you find yourself in that position, it is good as a young man to man up. Not only let a girl go through stress and challenges, is man up and make sure that you get the person, you go through the right channels with the parents, through the church, and get engaged and get married for the sake of the baby. The reason why we've had so many problems today is because many people have been brought into this world by fathers who were not in the son's life, or by mothers who are not ready to get pregnant. And as children come in, they struggle, they suffer, and they grow with no example, and they continue in the same process. This is where we have to be able to address this issue and talk about it It's a difficult subject, but yet important subject. And the fact that it's a difficult subject doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. Doesn't mean we should push and run away from it. We still have to face it and find the right solution, and making sure that we bring forth within our communities families that are healthy and strong, and building on values and going back to biblical principles that can make families better, make communities stronger, and also can bring forth children who will not be torn apart or affected by being statistics and not growing up in a loving environment where they get the wisdom, the training, and also the direction from both parents. So as we look at this as Christians, I would say that it is important for us to understand that if you bring a child into this world, you are responsible for that child. It is appropriate for any man who pregnant a girl to be responsible and take the role of making it better. Even though the initial stage was wrong, you could still right the wrong. The baby born is not wrong, because children are gifts from God. But impatient or quick fun can bring this about. And once this is here, then you have to find a way to make it right. So making sure that parents are involved and the church is involved, and hoping that these people get positive encouragement and not guilt, shame, and embarrassment. If we can open the door and let people even come up and get the help they need, then I believe we shall build strong communities, and we'll be able to make sure that children that are born don't suffer the shame or the pain because of parents' error. There are those also who believe this I said it's a very delicate subject, which we may have to even find another time to go deeper into it. And that is, there are women who are in this world who do not believe that God wants them to stay single. Because to be single is either by choice or by circumstance. Some people are single because they don't want to get married or have children. And there are those who want to have children, who want to get married, but they don't get husbands, and they have a desire of having children. For such, you can adopt. But there are those also, which is it's an ethical issue, who will go to a sperm bank and to go get a sperm, insemination, and get pregnant. These are very dicey things. But yet the church have to find ways to address these issues. Talk about them. What about if a woman says, I want to have a baby? Or I want to be a mother, but I don't have a husband, I'm not married, and I want to have a baby. Then the best and the quickest way is adoption will be the right way to go. Adoption will be the right way to go. There are husbands who would like to have children, but they don't have enough sperm count. That doesn't make them bad. That doesn't make them weak, but they want to have children. Is it wrong to adopt? Of course not. You can adopt. You can adopt. There are those by consent. They will say, you know what? We can't have children. Can we go and get a baby? My wife would like to have the experience of pregnancy. And these are delicate issues that pastors cannot directly speak to it. I believe it's a choice of the couple. But if we can guide people in making positive and right choice, I believe it will make the family as we know it better and stronger. There are so many issues that needs to be talked about, biblically, or naturally, or spiritually. And also we should be able to make sure that we're able to live in this society with God's principles and God's values. But at the same time, making sure that people have questions that they may need answers, we find better way to address it than run away from them. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I hope I'm clear.
Yes, very clear, very clear. I love that. I want to move on a little bit to going relationships still, probably more gearing towards marriage and these questions that I do have. But we're at a time right now where everyone's quarantined. We know we have the whole COVID issue going on, and I know that I've seen personally online. You've seen on social media people saying, "I can't take it anymore." I've seen some people get divorced. Um, what type of advice would you give to some of these young couples that are out here? Not to say that they don't have a value system in marriage, they understand the value system, but there's just something not clicking because they're having to spend so much time together that it's causing a lot of friction. What type of advice would you offer to those couples in dealing with each other, having to see each other every single day, day in and day out, and having to deal with each other? Because there has to be something that maybe there's a disconnect of why when you have to spend so much time with a person, but now you want to get a divorce because you have to spend that much time with them. What's the problem there? Is there a breakdown there? And then what type of advice would you give these young couples to find the fruitfulness in their marriage to get back to where they should be?
If you're a young couple watching, or older couple, or middle-aged couple, and you're getting tired of each other, listen to this advice. The very interesting thing about relationship is, you see, if you really like somebody and you love the person sincerely, being with them is not a problem. Are you in relationship based on convenience, or you're in relationship based on true love? Whatever you love, you don't want to stay away from. Whatever you like, you don't want to stay away from. So if you love somebody and you see the person also as one whose company you enjoy, you like to be around them. You love them and you like them. So if people are in relationship and they said, because I've seen you, too much of you, I don't want you, or I'm tired of you, I want out of it, it means in the first place, they didn't understand what they were doing. There are many people who are entering into relationships. They may be smart, intelligent, balanced, but immature. When you find immaturity in individuals, or you have two immature people coming together, they fight over unnecessary things. Unnecessary things. And things that should not cause conflict, they will make it into a conflict. There are those who cannot stand being in the company of people they like. But if you really like somebody, you want to spend time with them. And there's nothing wrong, actually, because I feel that COVID-19 and this lockdown and people staying in closed environment actually should make you learn new things about the other you didn't know. There's so many wonderful things about each other, so many funny things about each other, so many amazing things that we can bring to each other, teach each other, that we didn't have time to do because we're always on the run. If you are just on the run and you happen to come home and you enjoy each other, then you are nothing but dignified roommates. A relationship that is based on love and likeness, you can wait to be home with each other. You can wait to do things together. And is this not what people always say? We want us to do things together. And if you want to do things together, COVID-19 and the lockdown is giving you the opportunity to exercise that. I feel that you know more about yourself. You learn more about each other's likes and dislikes when you spend time together. Because the people who stays together are the ones who always are happier than people who stay apart. Division will make you fall. United, being together, will make you stand. So I would encourage anyone that is watching that in a true healthy relationship, you want to spend time with the people you love and the people you like, because you can find so many things to talk about, many things to do, and many things to enjoy. I do feel For those who say we've had too much of each other, we need to get out, they're not mature. They don't understand relationship. You don't understand relationship. Let's put it in our Christian perspective. We want God. We love God. And God loves us. Imagine God saying that, listen, because I've got crisis in heaven, I don't want to deal with you for a minute. This is not love. Because love stays together. Love brings things together. And when you say you love somebody, the intent is that I want to love you for life. I like you. And because I like you, I want to stay in relationship with you. And this relationship is such that I will not walk away from you. That's what love does. That's what relationship does. So if you are in a relationship with someone, or you like somebody, there's no way you want to stay apart. So that kind of excuse is not the right excuse. Don't be with a person because it's convenient for you. Be with a person because you want to be with them. You like to be with them. We may have conflicts. It's normal. We may have disagreements. It's normal. We'll be on top of each other. It's normal. You could take a break. And the break is, you know what? Let me take a breather. Let me go jog. The air here is getting thicker. Let me just step out of the house for an hour or two and come back. But to stay away, it's not going to make this relationship better. It will weaken it. There will be cracks in it. And just a matter of time, it will end up in pain. Being together is better than being apart.
Yeah, that's great advice. I'm going to ask you the flip side of that, though.
Yeah.
Being together is better than being apart.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at that, and you have a lot of families that are separated during this time,
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't be together.
Yeah.
They may be in another country. Or at the same time, just on the same token of when we are back working and people are traveling and they're separated, what type of advice would you offer? And I know you're a man yourself, you travel a lot, you go to multiple countries, you're all over the place. What can you offer as advice to these young couples to say, hey, you can stick it out, you might be separated, you may not be together all the time, but something brought you together. What would you give them? What type of nuggets can you give them to say, hold on to this, it's going to be okay?
Amanda, what makes relationship exciting is a sacrifice. If you are willing to sacrifice, and I'll repeat again, if you are willing to sacrifice, it means you would adjust to make the relationship work, even when the person is a different country, in different place. That is why the telephone has been invented. That's why we have FaceTime. And that is why and that is even how we can keep the relationship healthy and strong. You could create a time. What is me time for you? You could create a time which is we time for us. Well, hey, I need to call. I'm expecting a call. Just like you, your husband is working in another part of the world. But what keeps you and keeps a relationship, a marriage active and strong? It's because you are communicating. You do your voice calls and FaceTimes and whatnot. And the text. This is what we have to do in this time. Now, I travel extensively, as you've said. But whilst I'm gone, I'm closer to the phone. There's a sacrifice here that, you know what, at this time I have to call my home. I have to check on the family. I have to make sure everything is going well. At this time I want to just hear what has been happening. You're taking pictures, sending pictures, reminding each other, how was your day? I hope you are okay. What did you do yesterday? These are small things that one can do to keep the relationship healthy and strong. There are many people that have to be quarantined because of this pandemic. Or those who have traveled away, they've been locked out and they can't come back. But what do? You keep that engagement. This is exactly what people in the armed forces or the air forces go through. They remind themselves of their families. They send pictures. They talk. They keep the relationship alive. And what happened when he comes and she comes? Watch the images. Even their pets get excited because the fact that you are physically not around doesn't mean you are not engaged emotionally, spiritually. I mean, the fact that you are physically not in the same space should not affect your spiritual and emotional. Make sure that you stay connected. Is the I love yous that have to increase. I'm thinking about you. And the simple things that one does. If you could send gifts, flowers occasionally, these are things that if we can do, it will make a very healthy, strong relationship. And the church needs to address these issues, talk about them. Besides praying for the person that you love and sending them Bible scriptures. And some churches, they go, to the extreme. Hey, the Lord told me that, you are talking to somebody. The Lord told me that, all kinds of, which God can speak to you. But it should not be threats and fear to keep that relationship. It's love and trust that keeps the relationship. Honey, I hope you're doing well. And the more you are talking, the more you are engaging, the more it's like absence makes the heart founder. And these are all part of relationship. You find yourself in relationship. And let's bring it back to Bible. Jesus loved us so much, he couldn't see himself away from us. But he had to temporarily leave us. And he's been gone now for 2,000 plus years. But he's still with us.
Yes.
So it's the memories, the love that we cultivate that keeps it alive. These are some things that we can do. So my take is, hey, the fact that you are separate physically doesn't mean emotionally and spiritually you have to disconnect. Stay connected. Keep talking. Keep sharing. So how do I make sure that Jesus doesn't forget me? I talk to him through prayer.
That's right. That's right. That is
so
right.
communication, communication in different ways is what keeps the relationship healthy. So we have to communicate. In short, communicate. That keeps the relationship healthy and strong.
Wonderful, wonderful. Communication definitely is key. This has been so encouraging for me, and I'm sure it will reach so many others that it's encouraging for. And I thank you so much for taking the time out to talk on this topic, because I know it can definitely get sticky, and a lot of people don't talk about their relationships and their marriages. And so these, I'm sure, and there's probably tons of questions that we could go into further, and maybe other times that we can talk about those things. But I'm just glad that we had the opportunity to sit down and hopefully reach someone that's out there that's going through these things. So thank you so much for addressing these questions.
Amanda, it's always a joy. I really have a heart for the millennials, for young people. It is my prayer and hope that I would live to extend my shoulders for them to climb and stand on my shoulders to see further. If we leave the millennials and the young people behind, we have left the greatest responsibility and the joy for living. Let's make it to the point where the baton is properly passed and that it's not dropped. I love young people, and I want to see that we talk and address matters and issues that can benefit them. That means I can share my own experience, my own weaknesses, my own failures to make someone better. This is what it's all about. We live to learn, and we learn so we can live. And I just take opportunities like such and do life to speak to the body of Christ, to speak to believers, and to speak to anyone who will listen and give practical answers, because I'm also a student of life. We are still learning. So I take this as opportunity to also contribute, add my voice, guidance, and whatever wisdom God has given me to share with people. And I love to serve, as you know, and it's a joy to have you. So let's do life again.
Sounds good.
Great.
Hey.
Good.
Thank you very much for watching, and on behalf of Life International, we wish you God's very best. It is our hope, our prayer, and desire to inspire you regularly and make sure that you succeed in every area of your life. We would like to give you an opportunity to contribute to Life International so that our broadcast can reach many more around the world. Continue watching, share us, and mention us to all of your friends. Thank you so much, and God bless you.